Hey there, Sagittarius. Welcome to your reading for the week of April 28th. You have this infinite possibilities card. It says you're on the right path. Favorable energies are guiding you at this time. You have this healing energy card. It says you're in the process of healing, eliminating any bad energy from your life. So love it. Definitely looks really good for you with those two cards. You have the High Priestess here. The High Priestess is the card of basically infinite possibilities. A lot of people read her as intuitive and mysteries and secrets, which is true, of course. But, the High Priestess, she has no roof over her head on the card. And this represents infinite possibilities. It represents that she can accomplish whatever she sets her mind to. There are no limits to what she can accomplish. So I would definitely be kind of like upping your limits here, Sag, or I would be like really kind of like making things happen this week with this energy. You have the Five of Swords, the High Priestess, and the Four of Swords. So, the Five of Swords can represent walking away. You have the Devil, you have the Tower in this reading, you have the Eight of Cups as well. The Tower is coming up in the good stuff, so it's going to be good no matter what. And I will say a lot of people have had the Tower this week, like literally 2 weeks ago, or whatever it was, the Tower kept coming up. I said there's probably going to be some sort of death or a world leader stepping down. Then the Pope dies, right? So anytime in my readings at least, every single time that we get the Tower, a lot, something in the world happens. So, don't be surprised. But what I would say is that you could just be walking away from something that no longer serves you, or you could be realizing that something is toxic in your life with the Devil. Obviously with the Eight of Cups and the Tower and the good stuff, this would be a good thing. It's coming up in the good stuff. You also have the Four of Pentacles. So, this could be something that you've been holding on to for a while that you are releasing. And I think it's, it's pretty obvious to me that you have this healing energy card that some of you are healing. Next, you have the High Priestess. Now, like I said, infinite possibilities. The other thing that I think is very important with the High Priestess right now is looking behind the curtain, right? She has this tapestry behind her here, and it's a mystery as to what is behind her. But we have to look behind the curtain. We have to, see how the sausage is made here, Sagittarius. And so I feel this is a good thing, where it's like if you're working on a project or a business, or if you have an idea for your life right now, I would really be doing that deep research, like really diving into it and like figuring it out. You even have the Page of Swords as well. It's funny, I was on the radio yesterday. I was doing a radio interview, and the lady that was interviewing me was talking about how she keeps getting these like messages about curiosity. And you have Page of Swords, you have this card. These are great cards for being curious and for following your curiosity as well. But you have to like dig into it. And then when you learn something, you have to like learn about it. And if you do that, who the hell knows what you will discover? Probably something amazing. So I would, be diving into things that you're curious about. You have sorry, I dropped it. You have the Four of Swords. Four of Swords is resting, relaxing, recovering, and healing. So I think, obviously, doing all those things would be really great for you. We just had that Virgo eclipse in March, and, that Virgo eclipse and some other things that are going on really have to do with healing. So even though we're past the eclipse, again, eclipses can last for like 6 months. This eclipse season is going basically from March, even though we're past March, obviously, but from March to September. So, again, between now and September, I would be taking extra good care of yourself. I would be, making sure you're not getting sick, healing, and all that other stuff with the Four of Swords. And if you do that, then things will go well. So that's why I would do it. With the Five of Swords, you have the Nine of Pentacles. I feel that you have definitely had this realization that you can take care of yourself, plain and simple. I feel that the Nine of Pentacles is a card of independence, but again, that doesn't mean that she is alone. I feel that, the Nine of Pentacles is about true independence and, being able to take care of yourself, heal yourself, and all that other good stuff. But also, again, you can still have connections. The thing is that she has 3 pentacles right here and 9 pentacles over here. So she's willing to give 3 pentacles worth of anything to anyone who enters into her life, but she always keeps more than enough for herself. So the Nine of Pentacles is about not overgiving to anything, right? And so those pentacles don't have to be money. It could be time, effort, attention, energy, whatever with people. And so this is about kind of like having those like boundaries of not giving too much to anyone, which I would pay attention to. With the High Priestess, you have the Eight of Wands messages. You are probably having crazy dreams right now, or you could even be just receiving intuitive messages during the day. And I would be paying attention to those messages because they are clearly pulling you in a direction. The Eight of Wands is a pull. The thing about the Eight of Wands is we can't pull in two directions. We have to focus in one direction. And if we do that, then we will be successful. It always cracks me up. I'm not, commenting on the comments here, but it cracks me up every time I get a comment where people are like, I'm trying to be positive, but I just can't make money and all this other stuff. And I'm like, Look at your words. You are pulling in two directions. Yes, you have to be delusional. Sometimes delusional thinking is a good thing, even if it's not true, as long as we know that. If we point in one direction. And we also have to adopt the habits, the actions, and all the other things of success. And if we do that, then the Eight of Wands will move us very quickly in the right direction. So I would make sure that everything is going one way. With the Four of Swords, you have the Page of Wands. You have the Page of Wands twice. There's been a long-term theme for you, Sagittarius, that you are returning to yourself. You're going back to your Sagittarius nature, is what I feel. And what do you know? We have the Wheel of Fortune. The Wheel of Fortune is a Sagittarius card. So, you show up in between the two Page of Wands here in this reading. And I feel that, really I don't feel much. I feel that you are just, being more adventurous. I think you're getting back to your Sagittarius nature. I feel like you're being more adventurous, fun, lighthearted, carefree, playful, all those things. Next, in the area of what's coming in for you, you have this new moon in Aries. It says it's time to take action. You have this full moon in Sag that says, look at the big picture. Yes, I think it's a great time to zoom out of our lives and to try to connect the dots. This has been kind of like a little bit of a collective theme that I have noticed, not only this week, but also the May readings that I did. They were all kind of like saying that it would be a good time for people to, kind of like connect the dots. But, we have to zoom out. We have to look at everything we've accomplished. I think I've worked with a lot of people over the years, and one of my favorite exercises that I have people write down all their accomplishments. I have people look for compliments that they have received as well. And then I tell people, like, look at that, what you just wrote down. It's like, I'm sure there's something in there for you, right? So I think it would be a great time to look at your accomplishments, your achievements. When we do that, if we're about to do something, it makes it much more possible, especially if we look at the hard things that we've overcome. If we're about to do something, like try to go accomplish something else, and if we can put what we have accomplished into perspective, we might realize that what we're about to do is a lot easier than we think because we've already done something much harder. And so I feel it would be a great time for you to write down all your accomplishments, write down your achievements, write down the compliments you've received as well. It's like, I'll tell you a story too. When I was much younger, I had a business. And I was doing some just writing for my business, and a guy came to me and he told me, he's like, oh my God, you're an amazing copywriter. I had never thought about copywriting in my life because I was like 18 at the time. But then I started learning about copywriting, and I became a successful copywriter after that. So it's like, you never know. A compliment could lead you in a direction that leads to success. So definitely something I would think about with this energy. You have the Page of Swords, the Wheel of Fortune, and the Devil. Page of Swords is about being curious again. You never know. Someone might say something to you, and maybe you should get curious about it. Maybe it's something that you never thought you were good at. I always thought I was dumb and stupid, and I always thought I was a terrible writer. But the thing about copywriting is that actually bad grammar is better than good grammar in copywriting. So I never realized that. I always grew up thinking I was a bad writer. I always tell a story. I was in class, we were doing this writing exercise when I was in second grade or something like that. I remember I was staring out the window, being a Pisces, just zoning out into space, not thinking. And, by the time it was the end of the class, it was an assignment where the teacher was walking us through the verbs, the adverbs, and we had to underline them and everything like that. At the end of the class, I looked at my paper. I didn't do anything because I was staring out the window. So, right, I always thought I was a bad writer. And, again, there might be something like that in this reading for you. That's why I'm telling you the story, is because it's you might think you're bad at something. It's popping into my head, so I'm going to say it. You might think you're bad at something that you're actually good at, and I would look closer at what it is with the Page of Swords. It's about being curious, being willing to learn, being willing to figure things out, and all that other good stuff, right? You have the Wheel of Fortune. The Wheel of Fortune is a change in your fortunes, but it's also you here, Sagittarius. I do feel like their luck is changing, which I've definitely said to you over the past few readings. Luck is changing, but you have to put yourself in positions to get lucky. It's not like just things are magically going to happen for you. I feel if you take more chances, you will be more lucky because you're taking the chances. And that's really what I would do with the Wheel of Fortune. But again, I don't feel much between these cards because I feel these three cards, Page of Wands twice and the Wheel of Fortune, are really just saying that you're kind of returning to yourself or you're returning to your Sagittarius nature. With the Devil, Six of Cups, Eight of Cups right there, right? I would definitely be careful of someone trying to return from the past. I don't know what it is about this week. We're past the retrogrades, but, it's like a lot of people have been getting these messages of being careful of a person returning. So, I would definitely be careful if there's like a devil in your life who is returning. I would also be careful if that it's a person you can't say no to. Like, I think we all have a person like that in our life where it's like, even though they might be a little bit of a devil, it's like we have a hard time saying no to them for whatever reason, right? So and that's the message that's popping into my head with this card. It's like very specific. It's like a type of person where it's like, that you probably shouldn't help them, or it's not helping them if you do help them, but you have a hard time saying no. It might be a good week to ignore that person or not answer their phone calls or whatever, right? With the Page of Swords, you have the High Priestess. Yes, again, going deep into something, like really spending your time on whatever is capturing your attention this week and making you curious, or whatever is like standing out to you as being important. I would really go deep into those topics and, don't just dip your toes in the water. With the Wheel of Fortune, you have the Seven of Wands. Yeah, this would be about putting boundaries up against yourself. The Seven of Wands is about drawing the line in the sand and saying, like, this is what I'm willing to accept, and everything below this point I'm not willing to accept. And that can also change your life, right? When you put up boundaries and you stop spending time with people who are unlucky, due to their own actions, right? And when you stop putting yourself in situations that are not lucky, then you increase your luck, plain and simple. So, this could be a reading that is encouraging you to do things that increase your luck. With the Devil, you have the Hierophant. The Hierophant is about like the lesson, right? The Hierophant is the teacher. He is teaching these two people, or he's indoctrinating them into his belief system. But for you, I kind of feel it's saying like, you've already learned the lesson of this devil. It's like, do you really need to learn it again? Probably not, right? And so I think that this is a lesson you've learned with a person in your life. And I don't even think it necessarily has to be love. This could be like a family member that takes advantage of you, or if you have like a person who always disappoints you and, all that other stuff, then, this could be what you're avoiding. The thing is like, I don't think we have to like completely cut people out of our lives. But what I would say is that, if this is a family member that you do want in your life, even if they have been toxic, then I would say they have a lot to prove, right? Like, sure, you could let them prove it, but I wouldn't be, I think if someone has done a lot of bad things and they want to come back into our lives, like if it's a family member, we can say like, okay, like prove it, prove that you have made these changes. And then we don't have to like really overinvest in the connection. We can let them do it and let them prove that they've changed, right? And that's also popping into my head. Next, in the area of messages from your future self, you have this hummingbird. It says, be here, be now. You have this rhino. It says, overcome any obstacle. So the hummingbird, the story of the hummingbirds is that they go on a long journey to get their nectar. So I feel like you have been on this long journey trying to find fulfillment, and now you are. And I feel like you're overcoming obstacles as well with the rhino. So that's pretty much all I get. I think you've been on a long journey, and now you're getting the rewards with that hummingbird spirit. I do feel the hummingbird is definitely saying, like, if you are getting rewards, like, enjoy those rewards. One of the biggest mistakes I made in my life is, like, not celebrating my wins. Especially when I was younger. Speaking of being younger, it's like I would have a win and I would just like rush right past it, and I would be like on to the next one. But number one, I was like always stressed out because I was always chasing like the next thing, right? So I never enjoyed the good things that came in, and so I was always stressing about everything, which was my own fault. And also it's like I'm convinced that once I started celebrating my wins, I won more. because it's like I was being grateful for the things that I was receiving. So, I feel like this is saying, be grateful for, if good things happen, be grateful for those things because you'll attract more. You have the Page of Wands. I think you're kind of gearing up for an adventure. We have the Eight of Cups right next to it. The Eight of Cups is coming up in the good stuff. The Page of Wands, he does things out of optimism and enthusiasm. That's it. I always say he doesn't really have what we would consider a good reason for going on an adventure. He's just excited about trying something new. So I think that following your excitement with the Page of Wands would be a great thing for you. You have the Six of Cups. There's I feel like there is a need to protect your joy as well this week. Like I said, you have this person here with the devil or whatever's going on, and the Six of Cups, these people or these two children are inside these castle walls, and they are being protected by this guard over here. So I feel for some of you, there's a need to protect your joy or your happiness, and it could be from a person. It could also just be from the world in general. The other thing about the Six of Cups is I do like the Six of Cups because it can represent a turnaround. It can be a gift from the universe, and usually the gift we receive from the Six of Cups is overcoming an obstacle. I always say this, and you have this card that says overcome any obstacle. So if you've been bumping up against an obstacle, or if you've been encountering something that just isn't moving out of the way, this could definitely represent forward movement, which is great. And with the Tower right next to it, the Tower and the good stuff can represent a light bulb moment or a sudden realization. And so this would be a good thing, and you could be having a light bulb moment or a realization on how you can overcome something, which is great. You have the Moon. The Moon is part of the Fool's journey. The Fool has to get from here to those mountains, and he needs to not stop. He needs to not be distracted, and he needs to see something through to the end. One thing I will say to fire signs is we're going to have a lot of energy moving through Aries over the next few years. Neptune, Saturn, will be there for a long time, but we all have those minor planets that are in Pisces right now will also be moving through Aries. So, in a lot of ways, I think we all have to be finishers. We have to tell ourselves that we are finishers. We have to tell ourselves, if I start something, I'm going to finish it, right? That's really important right now. And the Moon is about needing to finish, because the Moon, we have these two pillars back here. These two pillars are a warning to the Fool. They basically warn the Fool against getting distracted. I think a lot of the times when we're very close to achieving something, that's when we kind of get that shiny object syndrome and we kind of go do something else. And so if you're working on any projects, businesses, ideas, this is about seeing them through to the end and not stopping. So I would make sure that you are seeing things through to the end. With the Page of Wands, you have the Star, which is great. Any reading we have with the Star and the Tower is a good thing, because the Star is about healing from a Tower moment. The Star is about having a North Star, having that guiding light, having one thing that you can focus on, the Star, and that you can go and accomplish. Again, you have all these cards of kind of exceeding your own expectations, I would say. High Priestess, she has no roof over her head. The whole point of the High Priestess, that no roof over her head, says that the sky's the limit. There are no limits. She can accomplish whatever she sets her mind to. And so I think that trying to accomplish something hard right now would be a really good idea for you. With the Six of Cups, sure, you have two cards. You have the Knight of Cups and the Magician. Definitely could be love. I mean, you do have the High Priestess and the Hierophant here. The High Priestess and the Hierophant can represent divine counterparts. I like them more than I like the Emperor and the Empress, because it's more of a spiritual connection. It's a stronger connection in that sense. Knight of Cups can be a knight in shining armor, and the Magician can say you asked for it. You could be manifesting something that is a surprise. He's pointing to the Tower here, the Magician. But, this could be one of those things where it's be careful what you wish for, although I think this is a good thing. It's sometimes we ask for something, we get it, and we're like, oh my God, I can't believe I got that. And so I kind of feel some of you could be, getting something that you've asked for. With the Moon, you have the Ten of Cups. Pretty good, because Ten of Cups is fortune after difficulty. It's happy home, happy family, but it can also represent good things happening after a difficult period of time. So I definitely get that fortune after difficulty type of feeling off of that Ten of Cups. Next, in the area of the good stuff, you have this leg up card and this why card. Some of you could be making progress all of a sudden and literally asking why is what's popping into my head, but I wouldn't ask too much, right? It's like sometimes in life, I don't know how to say this, Sagittarius, but I kind of do feel sometimes like the universe is like, okay, if you want something, like this is how much energy you have to give to be successful, right? And we don't really know like what that number is. I'll give you a great example, like this channel, right? I was stuck at like 40,000 for like 4 years, subscribers, right? And there were new readers that were blowing past me, getting to like 120,000, 200,000, things like that. And even right now, I don't really do anything different than what I was doing when I was at 40,000, right? But maybe it was the investment I had to make, right, to grow. And that, I hope that makes sense. But it's like maybe all of a sudden something in your life is like moving forward, you're getting a leg up, maybe you're getting a little bit of a boost. And it's like there really isn't a reason why, other than maybe you invested the right amount of time. Or maybe you finally kind of learned a lesson you need to learn or something like that. And I kind of get that feeling from these cards. You have the Eight of Cups, the Tower, and the Four of Pentacles. Yeah, I think you're avoiding disasters, really, with the Eight of Cups. Eight of Cups is about walking away from what no longer serves you. He is walking, hopefully, towards fulfillment. We don't actually know what he's walking towards because he doesn't know what he's walking towards. Like some readers say he's walking towards the Nine of Cups, which could be true, but he definitely doesn't know that. He doesn't know that he's going to find fulfillment. He just knows that he's not willing to settle for less. So, I always say that Eight of Cups is really a card of not settling for less than you deserve, but it's coming up in the good stuff, so it would kind of say you are. Next, you have the Tower. Again, the Tower and the good stuff can represent like a light bulb moment, a sudden realization, or if you've already had a Tower moment, it could say that you're finally healing from a Tower moment. So I feel pretty good about the Tower. It could also just be that you're making a positive change in your life, or you're entering into new reality. The whole point of the Tower is that these people have been ignoring reality for too long, and now they're coming down to reality. But it's coming up in the good stuff, so this would be a good reality. You have the Four of Pentacles. Again, pretty simple. I think you're just letting go of things that you've been holding on to with the Four of Pentacles. Four of Pentacles can represent holding on too tightly to the past or holding on too tightly to something from the past. And by releasing it, you're improving your life, and that's pretty much it. I think you are doing these things. It really is kind of like a personal development reading. Normally, I would only say that if we had like the Eight of Pentacles and the Strength card, which we do not. So those cards are kind of my personal development cards, but I do get that feeling from this reading. It's like something has developed inside of you, like your mindset or, what you believe or what you're willing to allow into your life, which is improving your life. With the Eight of Cups, you have the Four of Cups. Yes, disappointment. He's receiving something here, this Four of Cups, or this fourth cup, but he's not accepting it into his life. And so a lot of you could be walking away from things that just aren't providing you with what you deserve, and that's really it. It's coming up in the good stuff, which is good. With the Tower, you have the Page of Swords. Yeah, maybe you need to get curious about a reality in your life, right? Maybe you need to learn about it. I also do feel this could be love, though. Like, you could be attracting a person, like maybe, let's put it this way. This type of energy kind of reminds me of like you being interested in a person that's actually also interested in you for once, right? Maybe you've never had a person where it's like you actually like them first and then they also like you, With the Four of Pentacles, you have the Wheel of Fortune again. So you showing up in a very strong position. Whenever you show up as yourself, it really puts you in a position of power and strength and allows you to get what you want from the reading. So I definitely like to see that as well. Next, you have this leg card. It says stepping into new experiences. You have this broken bridge. It says unsuccessful outcome to a problem. I don't know. It looks like you're overcoming a problem. The leg card could say you're taking a different approach to something that has been unsuccessful. And I feel that would be very good for you, Sag. You have this wall. It says misunderstandings. I would say we still have all these retrograde shadows going on, so I would be very clear with your communication this week. I think everybody should. So I would say to avoid misunderstandings, I would be very clear with the things that you're saying. You have this Axe card. It says forces working against you. Again, I would be careful because of Mars retrograde shadow. Mars retrograde, especially we had it retrograde in Leo, and Leo is the ego. And the problem with Mars retrograde, even though it's not retrograde, and even though, at the beginning of May, we finally clear that shadow period, the tricky thing is that Mars retrograde is like notorious for making people think people are doing things behind their back or things like that. And I would just ignore it because it's probably not true. You have this Well card. It says family wishes come true. 10 of Cups. Definitely if you have a family, if you want to have a family, this could be family wishes coming true here, which is great. You have the Star card. It says guaranteed success. And you have the Star in this reading. So clearly something is guaranteed to be successful here, Sag, if you put your mind to it. But really good reading. I like where this is going. So thank you for being here and definitely enjoy your week.